300 years of peace had made the universe comfortable. The old wars were just stories now, told by ancient species to frighten their young. Humans had become merchants, diplomats, and scientists. They smiled in council meetings. They traded fairly. They kept their promises. The newer races saw them as soft creatures who preferred talking over fighting. This was a terrible mistake. Commander Daniel Porter stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Harmony as it orbited the colony world of New Bristol. He was 42 years old, with gray starting to show at his temples. He had joined the fleet because he believed in peace. He had never fired a weapon in combat. He had never needed to. The message came through at 0347 hours, ship time. Daniel was sleeping when his communication officer woke him with shaking hands. "Sir, you need to see this." Daniel walked to the bridge in his sleeping clothes. The main screen showed a planet burning. Massive ships hung in orbit, pouring fire onto the surface below. The shapes were wrong, alien, covered in sharp angles and dark metal. "That's Riverside Colony," his officer whispered. "The Vexari attacked 6 hours ago. They killed everyone." Daniel felt his blood turn cold. Riverside had a population of 2 million people. Families, children, schools, and hospitals and homes. "Contact the Galactic Council," he ordered. "We need help." But help never came. The Vexari Dominion had been watching humanity for decades. They saw a species that had grown weak and lazy. They saw wealthy colonies protected by small defense fleets. They saw opportunity. Their war leader, Admiral Kethvoran, had studied human history. He knew about the old wars, but he believed those days were gone forever. Modern humans were nothing like their ancestors. They would break easily. In the first week, the Vexari conquered 7 colonies. In the second week, they took 5 more. They broadcast their victories across all channels. They showed executions of human prisoners. They laughed and mocked and promised that all of humanity would soon kneel before them. Daniel Porter did what he could. He turned his diplomatic vessel into a rescue ship. He pulled survivors from burning stations and dying colonies. His cargo holds filled with refugees who had lost everything, but he could not fight. He could not stop the enemy. He could only run and save who he could. Humanity called for help from their old allies. The Tellurian Republic said they were sorry but could not get involved. The merchant guilds of Praxis expressed deep concern but took no action. The Galactic Council held emergency meetings where species talked and argued and did nothing. "They're afraid," Daniel's first officer said one night. "They don't want to anger the Vexari." "They were supposed to be our friends," Daniel replied. "Friendship doesn't mean much when someone stronger comes along." Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in tunnels that existed on no map, Admiral Grace Holland received a message with the highest security clearance possible. She was 61 years old, with white hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much. She had served in the fleet for 40 years, but her current assignment was something most people didn't know existed. She was the keeper of humanity's darkest secrets. Grace walked through corridors carved from red Martian rock. She passed through 17 security checkpoints. Armed guards in black armor watched her with serious eyes. Finally, she reached a door that had not been opened in 200 years. The seal broke with a hiss of ancient air. Lights flickered on, one by one, revealing a hangar so vast it took her breath away. And there she was, the USS Revenant. 3 kilometers of black armor stretched before Grace. The ship was enormous, dwarfing anything the modern fleet possessed. Her hull was scarred and pitted from battles fought centuries ago. Weapons bristled from every surface. Cannons and missile tubes and things that had no names in any modern database. This ship had been built during humanity's darkest hour, when extinction seemed certain. She had been designed with one purpose: to destroy anything that threatened human survival. No rules, no limits, no mercy. After the wars ended, the victorious humans had looked at what they had created and felt afraid. The Revenant was too powerful, too dangerous. She was sealed away, hidden, classified so deeply that her very existence became a myth. Grace walked across the dusty hangar floor. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. She reached the ship's hull and placed her palm against the cold metal. "I'm sorry to wake you," she whispered. "I know you were sleeping peacefully. I know we promised you could rest." She paused, and it seemed like the ship itself was listening. "But they're killing our people. They're burning our worlds. Our children are dying while the galaxy watches and does nothing." Grace closed her eyes. A single tear ran down her cheek. "We need you again, old girl. We need what you are. We need what you can do." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, deep within the ship, something stirred. Lights began to glow in windows that had been dark for centuries. A low hum filled the hangar, growing stronger with each passing second. The Revenant was waking up. In space, the Vexari continued their advance. Admiral Kethvoran celebrated each victory with feasts and speeches. He promised his people that humanity would be enslaved within the year. He called humans cowards and weaklings. He said their time was over. He did not know what was coming. None of them did. Because somewhere in the dark, something ancient was stirring. Something terrible. Something that the galaxy had prayed would never wake again. The legend was returning, and when she arrived, everything would change. Captain Nathan Cole was 73 years old, and had not worn a uniform in 15 years. He lived alone in a small house on the coast of what used to be California, spending his days fishing and trying to forget the things he had done. The military shuttle landed on his beach at sunrise. A young officer stepped out and saluted. "Captain Cole, Admiral Holland sends her regards. She needs you." Nathan didn't look up from his fishing line. "I'm retired. Find someone else." "There is no one else, sir. You're the only one alive who served on the Revenant." Nathan's hands went still. He turned slowly to look at the officer. "That ship doesn't exist. It was destroyed 200 years ago. Everyone knows that." "Ah, everyone is wrong, sir. She's been sleeping under Mars this whole time. And now she's awake." Nathan Cole closed his eyes. Memories flooded back. The screaming of dying ships. The flash of weapons that could crack moons. The faces of friends who never came home. He had spent 50 years trying to bury those memories. "The Vexari are killing our people," the officer continued. 20 colonies have fallen. The Council won't help. The fleet can't stop them." Nathan said nothing for a long time. Finally, he stood up and dropped his fishing rod into the sand. "Take me to her." The Revenant was exactly as Nathan remembered. Walking through her corridors felt like stepping back in time. The walls were the same dark metal. The air had the same recycled taste. Even the smell was familiar. Machine oil and old electronics and something else. Something that felt like anger, made solid. Admiral Holland met him in the command center. "Thank you for coming, Nathan. You didn't give me much choice." He looked around at the ancient systems, the flickering screens, the dust covering everything. "She needs a lot of work. We have 2 weeks before the Vexari reach the inner colonies. Can you make her ready?" "I don't know, but I'll try." The crew came together piece by piece. Lieutenant Commander Amy Lawson arrived first. She was 34 years old, small and thin, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her record showed 17 combat engagements and 17 victories. Other officers called her the Ghost because enemies never saw her coming until it was too late. She walked onto the bridge and looked around with wide eyes. "I thought ships like this were just stories." "Stories are often based on truth," Nathan replied. Chief Engineer Oscar Vega came next. He was a big man, with thick arms and grease permanently under his fingernails. He had kept dying ships alive in 3 different wars. Machines seemed to respond to him like pets responding to a kind owner. Oscar placed his hand on the engine room wall and smiled. "She's angry. She's been sleeping too long. But she still has fire in her belly." "Can you wake that fire up?" Nathan asked. "Give me a week, Captain. I'll have her purring like she was built yesterday." Dr. Helen Morris was the last to arrive. She was 60 years old, with gentle hands and sad eyes. She had served as a combat medic during the border conflicts 40 years ago. She had seen what war did to bodies and minds. She had hoped never to see it again. "They told me this ship was a myth," she said when she came aboard. "Myths don't have medical bays," Nathan replied. "And it needs a doctor." "Then I suppose I'm in the right place. Work began immediately. Technicians swarmed through the ship like ants, replacing old parts and updating systems. Oscar Vega barely slept, spending his nights talking to the engines like they were old friends. Amy Lawson studied the weapons systems and grew quieter with each passing day. "These aren't weapons," she told Nathan one evening. "They're extinction events. Some of these systems could sterilize a planet." "I know," Nathan said. "I watched them do it once." Amy stared at him. "How do you live with that?" "Not easily. Not ever easily." On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. The main computer activated on its own. Screens lit up across the ship. A voice filled every corridor. Calm and cold and very old. "I am Sentinel. I am the heart of this vessel. I have been dreaming for 214 years. Why have you woken me?" Nathan stepped forward. "There's a war. Our people are dying. We need your help." A long pause. "I remember war. I remember fire and blood and screaming. I remember the enemies we destroyed and the friends we lost. Then you understand why we're here." "I understand perfectly, Captain Cole. I remember you as well. You were young then. A junior officer who cried after battles." Nathan's face showed nothing. "I still cry after battles. But I still fight them when I have to." Sentinel processed this for a moment. "Show me the enemy." They fed the computer everything they had: intelligence reports, battle recordings, images of burning colonies and dead civilians. Sentinel absorbed it all in seconds. "The Vexari believe humanity has grown weak," Sentinel said. "They believe we have forgotten how to make war." "Have we?" Amy asked. "No. We chose to stop. There is a difference." The ship's lights seemed to grow brighter. "I am ready to remind the galaxy of that difference. I am ready to show them what we chose to put away." Nathan looked at his crew. Oscar Vega nodded firmly. Helen Morris closed her eyes and sighed. Amy Lawson's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Then let's go hunting." The Revenant launched 3 days later. She rose from the Martian surface like a ghost climbing out of a grave. Her engines burned with blue fire. Her weapons charged with energy that sensors couldn't measure. No announcement was made. No warning was given. She slipped into the darkness of space and vanished, running silent, invisible to all detection systems. The Vexari didn't know she was coming. The galaxy didn't know she was coming, but she was coming nonetheless, and nothing would ever be the same again. Commander Daniel Porter had not slept in 3 days. His convoy of refugee ships drifted through empty space, running low on fuel and hope. 12,000 survivors huddled in cargo holds, meant for a fraction of that number. Children cried for parents they would never see again. Adults stared at walls with hollow eyes. They had nowhere to go. Every safe port was either destroyed or too far away. The Vexari were everywhere, hunting down every human ship they could find. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "I'm picking up multiple contacts on long-range sensors. They're coming fast." Quote. Daniel felt his stomach drop. "How many?" 40 warships. Vexari military formation. "They'll intercept us in 2 hours. 40 warships." Daniel had 1 armed vessel and 11 transports full of civilians. There was no escape. There was no way to fight. This was the end. He opened a channel to the convoy. "All ships, this is Commander Porter. I want everyone to know that it has been an honor serving with you. Whatever happens next, we face it together." The responses came back, quiet and afraid but brave. People saying goodbye to each other, parents holding their children close. Prayers whispered in a dozen different languages. Then something strange happened. A transmission arrived on a frequency that shouldn't exist. The message was short. Coordinates, and 5 words. "Hold position. Help is coming." Daniel stared at the screen. "Where did this come from?" "Unknown, sir." The signal appeared out of nowhere. "Help from who?" "There's nothing out here." But Daniel ordered the convoy to hold position anyway. They had nothing to lose. The Vexari fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 40 warships surrounded the helpless human convoy like wolves circling sheep. Their commander was Admiral Kethvoran's second-in-command, a young warrior named Vexthal who was eager to prove himself. Human vessels, Vexthal broadcast. You will surrender immediately. Your ships will be taken. Your people will serve the Dominion. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Daniel gripped the arms of his chair. This is Commander Daniel Porter. These ships carry civilians, women and children. They are not combatants. All humans are enemies, Vexthal replied. You have 1 minute to surrender. Daniel closed his eyes and prepared to die. Then space itself seemed to tear open. A ship appeared between the convoy and the Vexari fleet. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light, and suddenly it was just there, hanging in the void like it had always existed. Daniel had never seen anything like it. The vessel was enormous. 3 kilometers of black armor that seemed to swallow light. Weapons covered every surface. The hull was scarred and ancient but somehow more terrifying for its age. The Vexari scanners went crazy. Warning lights flashed across their bridges. Computers tried to identify the unknown ship and failed completely. What is that? Vexthal demanded. Identify yourself. A voice came through on all channels. It was calm and steady, the voice of an old man who had seen everything and feared nothing. This is Captain Nathan Cole of the USS Revenant. You have attacked human civilians. You have 5 minutes to withdraw from human space. There will be no second warning. Vexthal laughed. 1 ship against 40? You humans truly have lost your minds. All vessels, open fire. The Vexari fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of missiles streaked toward the Revenant. Energy beams lanced through space. It should have been enough to destroy a dozen ships. The Revenant moved. Daniel Porter would never forget what he saw next. The massive ship danced between the attacks with impossible grace. Missiles exploded against shields that glowed like captured stars. Beams splashed harmlessly against armor that had been designed to survive the death of suns. Then the Revenant fired back. Her weapons were different from anything the modern galaxy had ever seen. They didn't just damage enemy ships. They erased them. One moment a Vexari cruiser existed. The next moment it was atoms scattered across the void. Vexthal watched 5 of his ships vanish in the first 10 seconds. Concentrate fire. Bring that thing down. But the Revenant was already among them. She moved through the Vexari formation like a shark through a school of fish. Every weapon fired with perfect precision. Every shot found its target. Ships exploded left and right, their crews dying before they even understood what was happening. Amy Lawson commanded the weapons with tears in her eyes. She had trained for this her whole life, but nothing had prepared her for the reality. She was killing hundreds with every button press. Stay focused, Nathan told her gently. They chose this, not us. Oscar Vega kept the engines burning hot. She's loving this, Captain. She was built for this moment. Sentinel's voice filled the bridge. Enemy fleet at 50% strength. 40%. 30%. They are attempting to retreat. Let them run, Nathan ordered. Let them tell others what happened here. But Vexthal would not run. He turned his flagship toward the Revenant and charged, firing everything he had. Brave, Nathan said quietly. Stupid, but brave. The Revenant's main cannon fired once. Vexthal's flagship disappeared in a flash of white light. Nothing remained. No debris. No bodies. Just empty space, where a warship used to be. The surviving Vexari ships scattered and fled. 11 minutes after the battle began, it was over. The Revenant floated in space, surrounded by the fading glow of destroyed vessels. Daniel Porter finally remembered to breathe. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely operate his console. Unknown vessel, he transmitted, his voice cracking. Thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you. Nathan Cole's voice came back, tired but warm. Get your people to safety, Commander. The road is clear now. What are you? Where did you come from? A pause. We're something humanity built a long time ago. Something we hoped we would never need again. But we were wrong. Up, across the galaxy, every species with access to military channels watched the sensor recordings in stunned silence. The battle data was analyzed and shared, and analyzed again. Ancient databases were searched, old records were unsealed, and slowly, the galaxy began to remember. They remembered the old wars. They remembered what humans were capable of. They remembered the ships that had burned empires and shattered armadas and made entire species surrender rather than face them. The Revenant was not just a ship. She was a promise, a reminder, a warning. The humans had been sleeping. They had chosen peace, but now they were awake, and the galaxy trembled. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the first time in 80 years. Representatives from every major species filled the great chamber, their faces showing fear and anger and confusion. The Tellurian ambassador spoke first. This vessel must be destroyed immediately. It violates 17 different treaties. Its very existence is a crime against galactic peace. Peace? Admiral Grace Holland stood before them, calm and unafraid. You speak of peace while human children burn? You speak of treaties while our colonies are ashes? The Vexari conflict is an internal matter. It does not concern the Council. It concerns you now. Grace activated a holographic display. The recording of the Revenant's battle played for all to see. 40 warships reduced to nothing in 11 minutes. This is what humanity built when we faced extinction. This is what we sealed away when we chose to become civilized. This is what you have woken up. The chamber fell silent. We asked for help, Grace continued. We begged our allies to stand with us. You refused. So now we will handle this ourselves. And when we are done, the galaxy will remember why humanity was once feared. The Praxis Merchant Lord raised a tentacle. You cannot threaten the Council. I am not threatening anyone. I am simply explaining the situation. The Revenant exists. She is operational. She will continue to defend human lives until the threat is ended. If that bothers you, perhaps you should have helped us when we needed it. Grace walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the Council erupted into chaos. News of the Revenant spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every news channel, every communication network, every whispered conversation focused on the ancient warship. Old species dug through their archives and found records they had long forgotten. The Revenant had existed before, during the great wars that had nearly ended humanity. She had led fleets that conquered empires. She had destroyed species that refused to surrender. She was not just a weapon. She was a nightmare made real, and now she was hunting again. Admiral Kethvoran received the news of Vexthal's death with rage. He smashed furniture and screamed at his subordinates. He demanded to know how one ship could destroy 40. It is not possible, he insisted. There must be trickery involved. Some kind of deception. His science officer shook his head. The sensor data is clear, Admiral. The human ship possesses technology far beyond anything in our databases. Its weapons output exceeds theoretical limits. Its shields absorbed damage that should have destroyed it 100 times over. Then we will send more ships. 100. 1,000. We will bury them in numbers. Admiral, our commanders are refusing orders. They have seen the recordings. They are afraid. Kethvoran struck the officer across the face. They should be afraid of me. But fear was spreading through the Vexari dominion like a disease. Soldiers who had laughed at human weakness now whispered about the demon ship. Officers who had dreamed of glory now prayed they would never see the Revenant on their sensors. The advance stopped. The conquering fleets pulled back to defensive positions. For the first time since the war began, humanity had time to breathe. But aboard the Revenant, the crew struggled with what they had become. Amy Lawson sat alone in her quarters, staring at her hands. These hands had killed thousands. She had pressed buttons and watched ships become fireballs. She had heard the screams on open channels as Vexari crews died. Dr. Helen Morris found her there. You should eat something. I'm not hungry. Helen sat down beside her. I know what you're feeling. I felt it too. A long time ago. The weight of it never really goes away. How do you live with it? You remember why you did it. You remember the 12,000 civilians in that convoy. The children who would have been slaves or corpses if we hadn't arrived. You carry the weight because someone has to. Amy wiped her eyes. I joined the military to protect people, not to become a monster. Sometimes protecting people means becoming something terrible. The galaxy is not kind, Amy. The galaxy is dark and cold and full of things that want to hurt us. We become shields so others don't have to. Oscar Vega spent his days in the engine room, talking to the ship like she was alive. In a way, she was. Sentinel had shown him something buried deep in the computer systems. The AI wasn't just a program, it contained memories, thousands of them, uploaded from every crew member who had ever served aboard the Revenant. The ship remembered. She remembered 2 centuries of war. Every battle fought. Every friend lost. Every enemy destroyed. All of it was stored in her electronic brain. Preserved forever. You're not just a machine, Oscar whispered. You're a memorial. A graveyard of memories. Sentinel's voice answered him. I carry them so they are not forgotten. Every person who gave their life for this ship lives on in me. Their sacrifice has meaning because I remember. That sounds lonely. It is. But it is also necessary. Someone must remember the cost of war. Someone must carry that burden so others can live in peace. Nathan Cole stood on the bridge, watching the stars. The Vexari homeworld lay ahead, days away at current speed. The final battle was coming. He could feel it in his bones. Captain, Sentinel said, I have been monitoring enemy communications. Admiral Keth Varan is gathering his remaining forces. He intends to make a final stand above his homeworld. 300 warships. ASCO. ASCO. 300, Nathan repeated. That's everything they have left. Yes. If we destroy them, the war is over. The Vexari will have no choice but to surrender. Nathan thought about all the death that would bring. 300 ships meant thousands of crew members. Fathers and sons. Soldiers who were just following orders. Is there another way? Unknown. The Admiral refuses all communication. He has sworn to fight to the last ship. Nathan closed his eyes. Then we give him what he wants. Prepare for battle. The Revenant burned toward the Vexari homeworld. Behind her, humanity held its breath. Around her, the galaxy watched. The final confrontation was coming, and everyone knew that nothing would be the same when it was over. The Vexari homeworld hung in space like a blue and green jewel. Billions of lives existed on its surface. Cities stretched across continents. Families went about their daily routines, trying to pretend the war was far away. Between that world and the Revenant stood 300 warships. Admiral Kethvoran commanded from his flagship, the largest vessel in the Vexari fleet. He had gathered every ship that could still fly, every weapon that could still fire. This was the final defense. If they failed here, everything was lost. All ships, hold formation. Kethvoran ordered. The human vessel is powerful, but it is only one ship. We are 300. Numbers will decide this battle. His officers did not look convinced. They had seen the recordings from the first battle. They knew what was coming. The Revenant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. She hung there for a moment, silent and dark, like death itself, waiting for an invitation. Nathan Cole looked at the enemy fleet on his display. 300 ships, more firepower than he had ever faced. Even the Revenant had limits. This would be the hardest fight of his life. All hands to battle stations, he said calmly. This is what we came for. Amy Lawson took her position at weapons control. Her hands were steady now. She had made peace with what she was. Oscar Vega stood in the engine room, one hand on the wall. Give me everything you have, old girl. One more time. Helen Morris prepared the medical bay for casualties she hoped would not come. Sentinel's voice filled the ship. I am ready, Captain. I remember every battle we have ever fought. This one will be worthy of that memory. Keth Voran opened a channel. His face appeared on the Revenant's main screen, proud and defiant. Human Captain. You have come far, but this is where your journey ends. My fleet will destroy you, and then we will finish what we started. Your species will be slaves to the Dominion. Nathan stood slowly from his chair. Admiral, you have fought bravely. Your people have shown courage, but you cannot win this battle. Stand down your fleet and surrender. No more of your people need to die. Surrender? Keth Voran laughed. You are one ship against 300. You should be begging me for mercy. One. Keth Voran laughed. I don't beg, and I don't need 300 ships. Nathan's voice hardened. Last chance, Admiral. Think of your world. Think of the families down there. Think of what I will do if you force me to fight through your fleet. You threaten genocide? No, I threaten victory. What comes after is your choice. Keth Voran cut the channel. Seconds later, the Vexari fleet opened fire. The space between the fleets filled with light. Thousands of missiles streaked toward the Revenant. Energy beams crossed the void in deadly patterns. The combined firepower of 300 warships focused on a single target. The Revenant dove into the storm. She twisted and turned, dodging what she could, absorbing what she couldn't. Her shields flared bright enough to blind sensors. Her hull groaned under impacts that would have destroyed any other vessel. But she kept coming. Return fire, Nathan ordered. Amy Lawson unleashed hell. The Revenant's weapons carved paths through the enemy formation. Ships exploded like fireworks. Debris scattered across the battlefield. Oscar Vega pushed the engines beyond their limits. Warning lights flashed everywhere. She's giving us everything, Captain. She wants this. Sentinel coordinated the battle with cold precision. Enemy losses at 15%, 20%, 25%, but the Vexari were not running this time. They pressed forward, accepting losses, trying to overwhelm the Revenant through sheer numbers. Impacts shook the ship. Armor plates buckled, power systems flickered. Damage report, Nathan called out. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, shield generators at 40%. Weapons systems still operational. Sentinel paused. We are taking significant damage. Captain, can we win? Probability of victory is 63%. Probability of survival is lower. Nathan nodded. He had always known this might be a one-way trip. The battle raged for an hour. The Revenant destroyed ship after ship, but more kept coming. Oscar Vega was wounded when a power conduit exploded near him. Helen Morris dragged him to safety and patched him up while he shouted directions to his engineers. Amy Lawson fired until her hands ached. She watched the death toll climb into the tens of thousands. She did not look away. Finally, something broke. The Vexari fleet began to scatter. Ships fled in every direction, their crews deciding that survival was more important than orders. Only Keth Voran's flagship remained, surrounded by the burning wreckage of his armada. The admiral stood on his ruined bridge. His uniform was torn. Blood ran down his face from a wound on his forehead. But his eyes still burned with hate. Come then, human. Finish it. Destroy my ship. Burn my world. Show the galaxy what monsters you truly are. Nathan Cole looked at the flagship. One shot would end it. One command would kill everyone aboard. Then he looked past it, to the planet below. Billions of innocent lives. Civilians who had nothing to do with their government's war. Sentinel, Nathan said quietly. Open a channel. All frequencies. I want the whole galaxy to hear this. The channel opened. Nathan's voice reached every ship, every station, every planet with a receiver. People of the Vexari Dominion. People of the galaxy. My name is Nathan Cole. I command the vessel that your leaders feared so much they sealed it away for 2 centuries. He paused, gathering his thoughts. We could end this now. We could destroy your fleet, your cities, your entire civilization. The Revenant was built for exactly that purpose, We have the power. We have the right. After what you did to our people, Kethvaran watched from his broken bridge, waiting for death, but that is not who we choose to be. Humanity did not build this ship because we love war. We built it because we love peace. And we will do terrible things to protect it. Nathan's voice softened. The war is over. Your fleet is broken. Your admiral has failed. But we will not destroy your world. We will not enslave your people. We will go home, and we will pray that we never have to wake this ship again. He looked directly at Kethvaran. This is humanity's warning to the galaxy. We choose peace. We choose kindness. We choose to build and trade and cooperate, but threaten our children, and we will remind you why you should have let us sleep. The channel closed. Admiral Kethvaran surrendered 1 hour later. The war ended with a signed treaty and an exchange of prisoners. The Vexari Dominion paid reparations for their attacks. They never threatened humanity again. The Revenant returned to Mars. She slipped back into her hidden hangar and powered down, returning to her long sleep. Nathan Cole retired to his beach house. Amy Lawson transferred to a diplomatic vessel. Oscar Vega opened a repair shop on Luna. Helen Morris wrote a book about the war that became required reading in medical schools. The Galactic Council quietly renegotiated every treaty with humanity. Old allies remembered their friendships. Former enemies remembered their fears. And in the dark places of the galaxy, where powerful beings plotted and schemed, a new lesson was whispered to the young. Never wake the humans. Never remind them what they were. Because somewhere beneath the red sands of Mars, the Revenant sleeps, and she remembers everything.